Hello, I'm Dr. Nauman Niaz, and you're watching an exclusive episode of Caught Behind. Today we'll be talking differently and with a distinguished guest who has nothing to do with cricket, but has everything to do with the game. But before that, let me surprise you that as commonly understood, cricket is not a British game. It all began in France, taken up by the French colonies in Canada. And let me doubly surprise you and leave you flabbergasted. Do you know that the first ever international cricket match was played between Canada and United States of America at Bloomingfield Park, St. George's Cricket Club ground in 1844. US in the 1860s had the most well-integrated inter-university cricket association. Cornell, University of Pennsylvania, Columbia, Princeton, Harvard, and Hartford. These universities, they established cricket teams and they played regularly. It was in 1859 that an All-England 11 toured US. It was in 1865 that Richard Daft-led England played against University of Pennsylvania. And then in the 1880s up till 1895, Lord Hawke, the famous captain of England, took the team to the United States. United States had a competitive cricket team, and they toured England in 1895, 1903, and 1908. They produced some of the most outstanding pre-war cricketers, including George Patterson, a hefty batsman, and Bart King, who became a legend in England. Where and what went wrong is a separate story. But today we have, as I told you before, one of the finest gentlemen and a sports passionate career diplomat, His Excellency, Mr. Donald Blome. Mr. Ambassador, a very warm welcome, and indeed it's a pleasure talking to you.
It's my pleasure to be here with you.
And we have to talk about cricket, and cricket in US. It seemed alien a couple of years ago, but now United States is a co-host of one of the world's greatest cricketing extravaganza, ICC World Cup T20. So how do you see that?
Yeah, it's really exciting to have the opportunity to host and a reflection of the growing interest in cricket in the United States. But what I've come to realize here, as I've learned a little bit about cricket and the history of cricket, is that it has a long history in the United States actually as well. And I think you know better than I do as a historian of the game, that it goes back all the way to the colonial era in the U.S. I believe they called it rounders back then, and sometimes wicket. But the legend is even that cricket was being played at the encampment that George Washington led at Valley Forge. So it goes back that far, and then has a long history leading up to the mid-19th century when baseball evolved out of cricket and, of course, famously became a national obsession. But it's always been part of the American experience, and it's exciting to see it reemerging.
I'm impressed and I'm perplexed that you know your history. Mr. Ambassador, do you know, let me add something, that as commonly understood, cricket is not a British game. It all began in France in the 16th century and was taken up by the French colonies in Canada. And the first ever international match, first ever cricket's international match, was played between United States and Canada. And that was in 1844 in Manhattan, Bloomingfield Park. So US actually is the pioneer of cricket. And now if you see the recent chronicles, you feel that the baseball and basketball and athletics, and so you really think that cricket is picking up in US?
I think so. I think there's a lot of evidence for that, including the rise of new American professional leagues, both at a major league level and some of the minor league teams. Yeah. And I think, of course, it's catalyzed in part by immigrant communities in the United States who come from countries that are quite cricket obsessed, whether it's in South Asia or in the Caribbean and elsewhere. But there's also those parallels with American sports, and in particular baseball. And, the common roots are very clear. It's about a ball and a batter. And there's something deeply ingrained in the American DNA to that kind of a contest.
Of course. Expatriates generally, they are passionate, but I totally agree with you that it has to be indigenous. And it was in US. But anyways, now we have seen a paradigm shift that like soccer, like football, now these private leagues are burgeoning all over. We have seen the Indian Premier League becoming a multi-billion-dollar brand. We have a Pakistan Super League here. It is being played in Emirates. And since the broadcasting interest, it has developed in cricket, particularly and significantly. And ICC trying to make it a global game by giving ICC T20 international status to almost 106 countries, including US. So do you really think that the market size and the depth of the market in US, it can become a real hard competition for the rest of the leagues around the world?
Why not is my answer to that.
Absolutely.
I think the very first cricket match that I ever attended in my lifetime was just 2 years ago in Lahore, where I went to see a T20 contest between the English and the Pakistani team.
Don't tell me the result.
We won't mention it. But for me, I saw how exciting that T20 format is. It's exciting for viewers. It's exciting for a first-time viewer. So I think it has a lot of potential.
Element of recreation. And,
absolutely.
And it could be a pastime for the viewers and the attendees. You are right. Now, US is participating. They have played in the ICC Champions Trophy in 2004. They have played 51 one-day internationals in their history, 25 T20 internationals since 2019. And now US is an associate member team participating in a global competition. They are pitted against Ireland, Canada, India, and Pakistan in their group. Do you see any chances US actually surprising quite a few?
Look, obviously that's a tough group with a lot of tough competition.
Yeah.
I think it's exciting that they'll have the opportunity to play these top international teams. I'm sure that they're excited about that. All athletes are excited to play the top competition, and I'm sure they are too. I think you have a scrappy U.S. team, and frankly, there's always a home field advantage, and so hosting it, they may surprise a few people in some of these matches.
And I must add that we have seen upsets happening in world competitions. Yeah. Ireland triumphed once in 2014. We saw Pakistan losing to Zimbabwe in 2022. South Africa being beaten by Netherlands. So don't tell me that you're ready for that Dallas match on June 6th.
That's right. You never know.
Pakistan and US.
There's always a chance, for sure.
Always a chance. And yet T20 internationals, any team that plays on the day, that they can win. Right. Now, you hosted the Pakistan cricket team very recently here at the US Embassy. And I want to ask you about the interactions which you had with the players. But your pull shot, that I saw on telly. So you're into cricket, or you're just trying to develop the taste? And Shaheen Shah Afridi, you hit him well.
Yeah, it was a thrill to meet the team, and they're so excited about the tournament and about going to the United States. I could tell that they were ready. It was fun to meet with the players, and I got a little bit of a lesson in the difference between the fast bowl and the spin bowl. So we talked a little bit, and then we decided that maybe I could take a few swings. Of course, growing up, I played baseball, and so I'm familiar with the baseball swing. The cricket swing is a little bit different, but I'm not 100% sure that I was getting the full speed on that pitch, but I was glad to have a chance.
You don't have to tell this on camera, Mr. Ambassador. Well, as you were saying, that T20 International, even the technique and method, now it is an intermix, so it's not a pure conventional cricket which we used to see. T20 batters, now they are adapting actually from baseball. They're adapting from we see the golfer's swing. So I think you can have a second career and second option. So now, on a serious note, a global event in US. How do you see it actually impacting the local market, the economic part, the financial outlays, and actually an opportunity in leveraging on this World Cup?
Well, obviously, hosting an international competition like that is going to bring a spotlight onto the sport in the United States, and it's going to bring a spotlight on the team, the players, what's going on in U.S. cricket. So from all those perspectives, I think you can see this acting as a catalyst for U.S. cricket. Anytime you have major international competitions coming together like this in a place, it draws attention, it helps build and expand first the viewership and over time, hopefully the interest in playing in youth leagues and young people getting involved in cricket. So I'm sure that that will follow this pattern.
All right. Being a career diplomat and a high-tier career diplomat, you have been to Tunisia, you have worked in Afghanistan, Jerusalem, in the U.S. State Department, now in Pakistan. Do you think that this World Cup actually can provide an opportunity for the U.S. to strengthen their diplomatic relations with the countries, participating countries like Papua New Guinea is going to be there, Uganda is going to be there, Pakistan, and rest of the world?
Yeah. Well, I'm firm believer in the power of sports diplomacy and the fact that international sporting competitions bring people together. When there's so many things in this world that can serve to pull them apart. So I think it's really important. It's a wonderful thing to see, the nations of the world come together and see how they can work together in a spirit of teamwork and common cause. And sports allows us to transcend differences. And you'll see many of these teams, the professional teams, have international players on them, and it's kind of an example of international cooperation in general. If you look at American sports leagues, whether it's baseball or hockey. At the highest levels, the players are international.
Yeah.
They're coming from all over the world, and they have viewers from all over the world watching these games being played in the United States or wherever it is. So I think it's an important opportunity. I think it does bring people together in a world, where people are too often pulled apart.
Oh, right. Now, another question that if I take you back to the 1860s, though you were not there then, and you'll be really interested and intrigued to know that in 22 states and 125 cities, there were 500 clubs in US playing cricket and 10,000 players. And now there are 200,000 players since 2017, those who participate in these minor and major leagues and club cricket. ESPN actually started it all, that by broadcasting cricket World Cup in 2014, the Indian Premier League was broadcast live in US. So you think such mechanisms to attract the youth, the indigenous, the local US population towards cricket?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can look at the example of soccer in the United States. Of course, football, we call it soccer, but 30, 40 years ago, had a relatively minor place in the U.S. sports landscape, which is entirely transformed. And in a lot of ways, it transformed because young people started playing it in large numbers all across the country. Yeah. So you see soccer taking its place among the major sports now in the United States. And, there's no reason why cricket couldn't follow that pattern as well.
All right. Like we have seen a very strong, well-integrated inter-university cricket association pre-Civil War, and Cornell or University of Pennsylvania, and then Harvard and Hartford College, Princeton, they've all played Columbia University. You think that this World Cup can again trigger that thing and cricket can be taken up by the educational institutions, because they are the top institutions of the world in the US, which attract population from all over the world?
I say, why not? Of course it can. And there is a strong connection between education and sports in the United States, and there always has been. It's a relatively unique part of our culture to have sporting teams and sports in general be so closely connected with our major educational institutions. But to see students taking this up would would be a good sign for the future of cricket in America.
And I think you are in Pakistan since 2022, if I'm not mistaken. And cricket is one sport that has actually overridden their national, that was field hockey. And now it is like played everywhere and all over. And it binds culturally, and it binds the people together in Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
You think such a phenomenon being replicated in the coming years in US? And this is not the first time not the last time you're hosting such a mega cricketing event.
Right. No, look, I've had the wonderful opportunity while I've been here in Pakistan to travel all around the country. And one of the remarkable things I've seen, particularly during the warm months when the weather's nice on a weekend, virtually every open space has a pitcher and a batter. Yeah. You know, the smallest street, sometimes the cars are still driving down the street and they're playing. And it's wonderful. It, you know, makes me think of a time I was a kid where we would just head out to a field somewhere and play baseball. And you can see it embedded deeply in the culture from youngest age of kids picking up a bat and dreaming about eventually being on the World Cup stage, right? You know, why not? I mean, the United States is a big country and a sports obsessed country.
Of course.
And
one of the top sporting countries in the world, yeah.
Absolutely. So I look forward to the day when that happens.
All right. Last but not, no, I'll ask you two questions. Second last, the penultimate question is that the United States is playing against Pakistan at Dallas. So will you be there cheering up for Pakistan, being the ambassador here, or for the U.S. cricket team?
Yeah. Look, my final plans for where and how I'm going to watch the match are not quite firmed up yet.
Right,
we'll see.
Yeah.
But whether it's there or here, look, I'll be rooting for the U.S. team,
of course.
and hoping that they do well. But I'm hoping that there'll be a good, strong competition, and I'm sure that there will be between those two good teams.
And a word on the 9th June match at Eisenhower Park in New York. India versus Pakistan, the big game, the Big E.
That'll be a big game.
Yeah.
That'll be a big game. I'm sure hundreds of millions of viewers around the world, and that'll be another exciting one to watch as well.
All right. And would you like to bet on who is going to win this time, the ICC World Cup T20?
I'm not ready to make any bets, but I think the U.S. team's going to surprise some people there. That's my prediction. We'll put it that way.
I think we should stop here, Mr. Ambassador.
Okay.
Anything you want to add a message for the younger generation? Because our podcast and this YouTube channel, it attracts loads of professional cricketers and youthful boys aspiring to reach the zenith. So any message?
Yeah, no. Look, I grew up as a kid. Also obsessed with sports, and in particular team sports, first baseball and then American football.
Yeah.
It was a big part of making me who I am today, learning how to play on a team and coming together in a common cause. And I think it's a wonderful thing, and I think it's a wonderful thing that so many young people are participating in cricket competition, which is more and more visible on the international stage. So we're excited about the World Cup next month and look forward maybe to seeing you there.
It will always be a pleasure, Mr. Ambassador, and thank you so very much. And you have impressed me with your historical evidence of cricket being played in U.S. And it dates back to 1709.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so very much, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.
It was really exciting to talk to U.S. Ambassador to Pakistan, Mr. Donald Blome. And he's cricket savvy. That's actually intriguing. And we are looking forward to see one of the greatest cricketing extravaganza starting on June 1st, 2024 in U.S. and the West Indies. Let's enjoy, let's keep on getting enthralled with the game of cricket. Look after yourself. Until next time, goodbye.